Yes.
Coming to you live, literally from my apartment. It's Rob Has a Podcast for the feedback show for Survivor 44, episode 8 or 9.
8.
Here's the girl who always has her 10 face on, Ali Lasher. And that guy snickering at this as I choke through this intro is Rob Cesternino. Rob, welcome to the podcast.
Ali, thank you for an incredible introduction. Oh, I love this, having the guest introduce me, that this is just like, I just get to sit back and relax and no pressure.
Yeah, so little fanfare was done for my appearance here all week, and now I had to introduce you.
Yes, what fanfare? We didn't get Stephen Fishback's reaction to it on Thursday night? Is that what happened?
No, it's really hard to get paired with Jamal because it's
It
like
was
he is incredible, and you always look forward to talking to him. Listen back to and it was deserved, but it's like one of my favorite weeks of the year.
Mhm.
And so I get to talk to Jamal and Ali Lasher will be on the feedback show. All right, next week we've got, which is fair because Jamal's incredible.
Jamal is incredible. Yeah. In fairness, this season doing the feedback show on Monday, I feel like it's like 5 days away. So I'm like, let me tell you about what's coming up tomorrow, and then we'll tell you when we get to Thursday about the feedback show. But look, we needed more hype, more hoopla for this live show here tonight with Ali Lasher, and I'm so happy that you're here because you come in hot. You come in with plenty to talk about, and I am positive we're going to have a fun discussion of where we're at in the world of Survivor.
You know, I'm glad you have that faith and expectation because I watched this episode and I thought, oh, good, very little to talk about. Rob and I will have fun. We got to fill some time. And then throughout the week, everyone's like, this is one of the best episodes of the season. I don't know. Is the Survivor audience just like tapped out on crazy strategy, and this was more of like a straightforward episode? Even with an idol play, it still felt like kind of a straightforward episode.
Well, I think that it was straightforward in that there were not like berserko twists around every corner, and I think that was very refreshing. And so when we had just like a normal Survivor vote, it was like, oh my god, this is what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a lot of I felt like they were filling time a bit. Like once we were like really going into the pair selection at the challenge, I was like, oh, Robbio and I got a lot of time to fill. But no, I mean, I think listening to Jamal, this is a great advantage of the feedback show being on Mondays. I was able to listen to most of your interview with Jamal and catch up on everything throughout the week. So you guys have convinced me that there's like perhaps a lot more to talk about than meets the eye.
Well, Mike Bloom has been talking about this on some of the other podcasts where I think this was maybe like a 1-day vote also where that I think the last 2 episodes might have just been like it was 1 day when Matt went home and then like one more day of just this as opposed to normally like we have 2 days. So in terms of like them building a like 2-act challenge into this episode, I think that was probably by design to have everything happen. This was like a 24 hours in the day of the life of the survivors that we got in this episode.
Speaking of the challenge quickly, I just want to refresh the audience recollection, maybe your recollection, that I believe I was here for this challenge last season when Gabler was dedicating every minute to his dog.
You were right. So this is your challenge. This is your week.
I was watching it and I texted Sam like, I'm pretty sure I already talked about this pair choosing, and obviously it happened differently this week than last season. So I decided to wear the same sweater I was wearing. So for continuity, I feel like you could edit together if you want, make one podcast. This is now, I have to come every time there's a pair selection.
Great. Well, I'm happy to hear that that's going to be your annual week. We got to figure it out. Maybe we'll forget the spoilers from the survivors ahead of time of like, hey, what episode are they doing the challenge? That's going to be really long, so we can book Ali Lasher for that episode. But with you opening the show, I'm totally thrown off my game. I didn't get it to introduce you at all, of course, of the challenge RHAP up of the new girl, old guy fame. Ali Lasher is back here with us. So excited to get the chance to talk with you about everything that's going on. Are you enjoying Survivor 44?
What's not to enjoy? I learned this week on Know It Alls that like I'm a part of like the parent brigade of if you enjoy the season, you're like in an older demographic, which I'm fine with. Yeah, I mean, I loved your spin on like what happened with Matt, and I know you lost a little steam maybe on that energy as the week went on. That it was if we just like reframe that vote, that it's like more enjoyable or more digestible, but overall, like every episode I'm enjoying. I think this cast is like phenomenal. I mean, coldest take of all time, Carolyn is not only is she sort of like the return of the little bit of the kooky character, like you and Jamal talked about how like Nora and Debbie maybe encouraged her to apply, that there was like a path forward.
Yeah.
But she's also like strategic and crushing it. And I think like I rewatched all the episodes in preparation to talk to you, and what strikes me about Carolyn, I know it's like embarrassing. But what strikes me about Carolyn, which I love, is like she's so just like true to herself, and that like I know Josh doesn't have an idol, and I'm willing to act on it. I want to work with Josh this week, and I'm gonna act on it. Like she has such great game sense, and she's got the courage to make the moves, which is like the next iteration. She's like 2.0 of like the kooky person. Like I absolutely love it.
I mean, she's so far beyond like the, kooky characters that you're talking about. Like, I feel like 2.0 isn't far enough advanced because, those other people were just sort of kooky and like had no sort of awareness of the game. They were just kooky people who happened to be inside the game of Survivor. But Carolyn is somebody who actually like knows a lot about Survivor and has played Survivor and has like this very quirky side, but she is a real player. She's
like Nora GPT.
Nora GPT, yes. Although we do not ask Nora GPT. You need answers to a lot of your questions, okay? Yeah, you don't have to go to Carson's Twitter account for flat Earth information or anything like that. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. Before we get too far, I do want to just let people know something that I put out over the weekend. Of course, Keith Nale passed away this past week. Of course, the Survivor community obviously devastated about that. I had the chance to reach out to a bunch of people that played Survivor with Keith Nale, and I put up a tribute to Keith Nale from his Survivor family, from different people that he played the game with. If anybody missed that over the weekend, I really recommend it. It was very nice to hear from. I talked with Kelly Wentworth, Jeremy, Andrew Savage, Natalie Anderson, and Kimmy Kappenberg, and I got a message from Josh Canfield as well. So all that is in the podcast feed if anybody missed that. Ali, not to derail this conversation. I just wanted to make sure people had a chance to hear that it's up in the podcast feed. Let's jump into some of the stuff that's coming up here, where this is very interesting now heading into the final 9, which I've been very excited about. We're going to get a final 9 vote for the first time since Survivor 40, believe it or not. And it's so interesting as we're set up here with our 3-3-3 split.
Who saw that coming?
No one.
I feel like the Paul Rudd meme, like, look at us. Who would have thought? Or not me, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me, not only that it's 3-3-3, but to look at each of the 3. And whereas Ratu set up this week, I mean, before, the fall of Brandon, Ratu set up as like the dominant tribe. They've got it going on. Like they're the 4. But now without Brandon, I look at the 3-3-3. Kane, Lauren, and Jamie are the 3 that I see like the least clear connections to each other. Like, can the Ratu 3 survive without the head of their snake, who I guess was Brandon?
Yeah. Now Lauren does have the extra vote, so their 3 is kind of a 4 if they work together. But I do feel like that Kane has like these other connections. We've seen him hanging out with Carson. And, we've seen him like talking with Franny. So I do feel like that Kane is the most likely to flip. I feel like that Brandon, even though he said 2 episodes ago he didn't trust Kane, that he kind of in this last episode was kind of like the Kane whisperer.
That's interesting. I actually feel like Kane might go home next week. Only because I think I'm reading too much into Jam Jam's, like, if you vote for me, I don't trust you, and I'm trying to figure out who could have voted for Jam Jam or he'd be talking about. Like, I don't know if Heidi is going to catch the
Did he
flack
say
for
that in an
causing.
episode?
He said it on the next week on, like, if you
Ah,
don't, I don't
this is
forget kind of thing.
advanced
But
level.
yeah, I'm advanced level here. But so I really like Kane. I don't know that the edit is doing him any favors where like he's edited, I mean, to look like a buffoon this week, right? Like I know if I say we're in a good spot, I shouldn't say that, but we're in such a good spot, I can't help myself from saying it. And then like it was so interesting when Matthew spoke to you on the exit interview that he had a totally different narrative on like how the Carson, Kane, Matthew relationship came to be. The edit is giving all that credit to Carson. So I just don't know. While Jeff assures us there's no winner's edit, and I generally agree, I certainly can't read the edit. I don't know that we've gotten any agency out of Kane. Like, do you know where Kane's next
No.
move is going to be? No.
It's got to go watch Dungeons and Dragons when he comes home. That Kane has really, not had like the greatest run in terms of what his story has been. I also thought it was the kiss of death for him this week when they said like, look, we're in such a good position. If we're not the final in the final three, then like we totally screwed this up.
Yeah, not good. Like usually you get one soundbite and you're like, oh, that doesn't look good for them. He had like a 15-minute segment of like talking about how they're kings sitting on the hill here and like it's and totally embarrassing if they blow it. But one thing also, another possible fracture with Ratu that I'm still kind of confused about, not only have we not really heard much of Jamie's fake idol, but not much is being made of like the fact that Jamie spent a week deep breathing on the Soca tribe. Like, and then she ends up picking Heidi first. Like, they're the only pair that's made of like a cross tribe alliance, and then they force Lauren and Danny to work together in the challenge. Like, is Jamie a possible weak link now to jump to Soca, or was she not on the tribe long enough to make any relationships?
I don't know. I suspect she probably has a decent relationship with Heidi, if I had to guess. But I don't know that Brandon, I asked him about where Jamie was, and he said that when he found out that Jamie hadn't even told them about what happened at the Ratu birdcage, that he felt like that she was still Ratu strong. So I mean, maybe with Brandon gone, she can try to play it up that she was going to flip sides. But I mean, she did like not seem to want to give Matthew the time of day when they went to the tribe switch. So I don't think that she is going to be somebody. I think she could like just like jump on if she like reads where the votes are going, but I don't think she's going to like actively jump to Soca at the expense of Lauren.
So would you say that like swap was a fail? Because it also seems like Carson went right back to Tikka. Like it didn't seem like any real bridges were made during the like 2-3 days they had in that like mini swap.
I don't know if it was a fail in terms of I didn't like how they gave them idols and then it was going to be like an automatic somebody was going to get idled out of the game because of it. But I do think that it's probably not giving Carson enough credit. That I think that Carson was able to play that very well, where that I think he got the Ratu people feeling like that he was with them, where he is getting like all of the information. Like they're not treating Carson as like somebody who is other than Ratu. They're like they got to the merge and they're acting like he's one of their numbers.
This is gonna sound mean, especially given given me.
I can't wait.
But
to
I don't
hear
mean it in a mean way. So like just before I say it, I'll like add cushion. Is like so I met Franny once in real life through Max Dawson.
Okay.
And after meeting her, I was like, and to be clear, it's a name drop, like she wouldn't even remember who I am, but like she was so magnetic and so incredible and so captivating, like this one dinner that I was like, I understand why every single person who met her was like, she's got to go immediately. Like she is the biggest threat to win this game if she gets through. Like
now,
she
this was pre-Survivor or post-Survivor?
After Survivor.
Okay.
But like you don't really see that because you don't see the show. What is Carson's magic sauce? Like, has anyone met him and can write to me and explain? And I don't mean like I can't imagine why anyone would like him, but everyone who meets him on this beach seems to want to give up their firstborn child and replace them with him. Like, Carolyn's willing to go down in the challenge for him. Kane and Matthew are fighting over working with him. Brandon puts his whole game on the line, assuming that Carson's with him. Like,
sure.
what is happening?
See, I thought you were gonna say from like the producers of like why. I thought you were gonna say like is there so much Carson screen time and not as much Franny screen time? But you're talking about strictly like the players on the beach, correct?
I'm just saying that, yes, like there's something maybe about him in person if you met him that's just like, I have to work with this guy or I trust him.
Yeah. So I just think that he is like he's 20 years old. He seems 20 years old. He is like a polite,
like negative.
Right. And it's like, I'm not like, okay, like he's just like, I just want to like put him in my pocket and work with this guy. And he's such a nice young man. And I think that everybody is just feeling that way about him. Whereas, everybody might be seeing what you're seeing about Franny of like, okay, well, she is a, strong, confident woman who is seems like she could win challenges, where Carson, I think, is just less threatening. And while like we know that he is like studying to work at NASA, he just may seem like, just a very unassuming, nice kid who's happy to be there, and people I think are underestimating him at their own peril.
Yeah, and I didn't even mean to draw a parallel between Franny and Carson. I just more meant like, I guess this is the before. I'm not seeing on screen what people are seeing on the beach, in that like why everybody who meets him like immediately wants to work with him. And I get it if you're reframing it like, not reframing it, if your read is like he's young, they want to take him under their wing, he's unassuming, but like it almost seems like people are going to him for strategic guidance and like trusting him with the plans, and it's not just Carolyn and Jam Jam, it's every single person he interacts with. Like, I have to give it up to him because just like he seems to have inroads with every single person on this island, and that's like incredible in a way that like I don't know, Will Wall didn't, like Xander didn't, like other like young men in his shoes didn't.
But Will Wall is young, but I think he's like, 6'7", and Xander is also he's a young guy, but he's also like carries himself, I think, like a lot differently than Carson, who I just think that it's sort of like if you were going to like have like a TV show, like you would cast Carson on the show and he could play like an 8th grader on a TV show. Like I just think that it would be where I don't think that he comes across as threatening, and even for his archetype, he doesn't come across as like schemy and evil or somebody that you're worried about. He just seems like such a nice kid.
Yeah, so that's interesting because like Carson says, I think it was this episode, maybe it was earlier, when he's like getting back with his like Tikka tribe, and he's just like, I'm going to round up the misfits once the big, I think actually this was closer to the merge, when like the big guys go after each other, and then I'll round up the misfit alliance and go to the end. And I almost think like as everyone is underestimating Carson is also underestimating Carolyn and Jam Jam. Like if that's the final 3, which I don't foresee, who's winning? Like I have no idea who wins. That's like
all right. Well,
3-3-3
you want to jump into a voicemail? Okay, we've got one here. This is from Annie Sinensky has a voicemail for you. Okay, here we go, and let's see what Annie has to say.
Hey Rob, this is Annie Sinensky, also known as Off Sinensky's daughter. In the last 2 episodes, everybody has been talking about the war between Ratu and Soca. Is everybody forgetting about Tikka? They still have 3 people left, just like the other 2 tribes. I think everyone is going to keep forgetting the Tikka 3 and allow them to stay in the game. That will end with an all-Tikka final 3. What do you think about that? And who do you think would win in all-Tikka final 3?
Okay,
Thanks.
wow.
Bye.
First of all, work that nepotism, girly. Like, name drop your dad. I love it. That's a great question. I mean, I just asked the same question. Like, I do think, like, the messaging of this whole season so far has been, if you sleep on Carolyn and you underestimate Carolyn, you go home. Like, every episode where somebody is, like, against Carolyn or doesn't like think she has the capacity to like play the game, they get eliminated next. So I think maybe that is extending to all of Tikka, and the same principles that you're saying apply to Carson. Jam's been like his back against the ropes multiple times, that all three of them are being underestimated. And if this season ends in an all Tikka final three, I'm here for that season.
Yeah. I think that would be certainly like, I feel like we are being led down that path. I mean, the show opened with all three of the Tikkas talking about how they're all being underestimated. We got Jam, we got Carson, we even got Carolyn talking about being underestimated.
And I'm going to keep trying to just be underestimated and looked at like I'm just the turkey of the tribe.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody described as the turkey of the tribe.
That's because you live like an enchanted life, Rob, where you've never been the turkey.
I've never been the turkey of the tribe.
I don't know, but the Challenger RHAP-Up is gonna rebrand as the turkey of the RHAP-Ups network. The
turkey of the RHAP-Ups. I think Akiva said he bowled a turkey once when he bowled a 164, but. All three of them could potentially be underestimated to the point where they could be the final three people in the game. And so, Ali, who would win the all Tikka final three?
Well, before we get to that, who is winning Samotion here? Did Carson build that in his 3D printer? Like, does he have a mini version? And
I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts there on Samotion. I do think that you can, like, when we went through all of like the different puzzles that were available online and stuff like that, I think that somebody does make a Samotion, but I don't know if Carson, I guess we'll have to find out if he practiced that one.
I think I think any of them could win an immunity challenge at any time. We saw Jam, I think, made fire for Tikka. He went to the beach every Sunday, which I loved. So I think, you know, are they the three where I'm like, oh yeah, they'll definitely win, you know, like one of them will win final four and one of them will be fire. Like, I don't know that it's like a lock. I could see them getting to the final five and then maybe two of them get by and one person slips through. But who would win that? I mean, I do think, like, I don't know if the Survivor players at large are ready to acknowledge a Carolyn win. Like, I think the kooky Gabler is more appreciated than like Carolyn, who's actually been like putting in the strategic work. And just from what we've seen so far, her tribe mates don't seem to like recognize the agency they have. They view her as like a loose cannon. Like, oh, Carolyn did some crazy move and went against us. Like who saw that coming? You never know what she's going to do. But really, she's making incredible strategic steps. So I would hope that she would win based on what we've seen from the three of them. But I don't know that they would like award her gameplay.
Yeah, I don't see it as of right now that Carolyn is going to be able to like convince a jury to be able to vote for her. And maybe it's possible that maybe Carolyn can say like, no, I knew you all how you saw me, so I changed my strategy and I did that. But I do feel like that the jury really does, especially over these last couple seasons, want to hear you parrot back to them how they saw you, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And then what you did because of how you were being seen by the jury.
Which potentially she will be able to see because she does have like a background in Survivor fandom and not LARPs. What is it?
I think you're right. I think live action role playing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, or orgs or whatever. So like, I think Carson might be better. Like, I think the way Carson sees his game matches up more with the way the contestants will see his game. So that's like their synergy there.
Yeah.
But everyone seems to love Jam. And like, who doesn't want to give Jam $1 million?
I think Jam. That his tribal council against Matt was so good that I said, you know, I did my video talking about like, was there a way out for Matt? And I talked about how good Jam was, and I really said that I felt like that, you know, Jam's tribal council, that was like a final tribal council where he talked about how, you know, like I'm a teddy bear, but I'm also a badass. Like he really is like already in that mindset of, here is how I am branding myself and presenting my argument to the people that are deciding on keeping me, to the people that are on the jury. Like Jam, I just think is really, really good at that. And so I think that Jam Jam would have it if it is those three in the final three. Just to go back to Carolyn, I don't want to say that Carolyn can't win a final three. I just think that those three happen to be a bad draw for Carolyn. And I think that there are probably people that Carolyn could beat, but I just think against those three, where I don't think she's going to be seen as the person who was sort of like masterminding getting the Tikka 3 to the final three.
Yeah, I mean, I think Carolyn would also benefit from someone she worked really closely with, like Jam Jam or Carson, being on the jury and explaining that sort of as a preview. Not that we acknowledge that part of the game, but we acknowledge that part of the game. Jam Jam reminds me a lot of my mom, honestly, and I'm only connecting with this now, in that like there are certain people who just like can ask for what they want and people just say yes. Like Jam Jam will say like, hey, Josh, why don't you give me your idol then? And you're like, that's crazy that he would say that. And obviously Josh doesn't say yes, but like Jam Jam gets away with saying things that are funny and a little edgy. And like,
come on. Yeah.
And then people just want to give you what you're asking for, even if it's insane. So like that is like a special kind of X factor that you can't quantify. But like when he's in front of the jury, he'll be that great blend of like heartfelt and strategic. And then also that extra, don't you want to just give me $1 million?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like that Carolyn, in the times that people have not wanted to like work with her or not necessarily give her what she wants, I feel like she walks away kind of frustrated. We've seen her in confessional say a couple times, like, I'm done with them, you know, like, what the F? Like, you know, where Jam Jam, like, I feel like is able to like spin like, okay, a rejection into a little bit more of like a charming moment where he doesn't get just dejected.
Yeah, even the way he opens this episode, right? He's like thanking everyone. I'm really happy to be here. Franny, I'm sorry about Matt. That hurt me too. Like he kind of like hits all of the right notes with everyone on his way back. And listen, Carolyn's reaction, more sympathetic, I could not be, but no one would vote to give me $1 million. So we'll see. It's a good question. Do you think generally people are going to continue to sleep on the Tikka 3, or did this sort of move they made blow that up for next week?
They did it so well where it was the votes were, it was the 3 Soca and Carolyn, of all people, who we didn't even see in the episode anybody talking to Carolyn. I don't know if it was Franny that told Carolyn to vote for Brandon, and then we saw Jam Jam and Carson both voting for both voting for Franny and getting their votes ultimately nullified by the idol.
Here's my frustration, though, is like it goes back to Matthew's move with playing the shot in the dark, episode 1, to like throw away his vote. And we love it. Genius, like smart thinking around things. But ultimately, if I'm Brandon and you throw your vote away, and if I didn't play my idol, I would have gone home. You're not my ally. Like that wouldn't work of like, oh, well, he didn't technically vote for me. He didn't ride with me. So if you're not with me, you're against me. So I don't really know, like, are Soca and Ratu underestimating Tikka so deeply that they think Caroline flipped on Jam Jam and Carson, and Jam Jam and Carson didn't know about this? Like, isn't this just as bad as voting with Soca?
That's interesting. I don't think they're thinking about what they're doing for whatever reason. I guess they just like have like underestimated them to so much, and then they're gonna come back and be like, "Oh my God, Danny, bro, what a great idol play! You did it! Like you're the man." And I just think that they're going to just try to not think about it, like not like try to change the subject and keep the target off of. Now, I don't know. It's not like in Big Brother we have a whole week to think about. Like we're gonna go to potentially a reward challenge and then and have a vote. And I don't know if they're gonna like, even if Soca is mad at Tikka, what are they gonna do? Like Tikka could switch back and vote with Ratu this week.
I guess it's just like I mentioned this quickly to you before we got on, but like there's this whole thing milling around in my head of like all of the fake idol madness and like you can do it, but should you? And Jamal said something on the podcast that was just like, it will change the way I discuss Survivor forever, in that like sometimes it's better what you don't do than what you do. And so like maybe you had the opportunity to do these fake idols, but should you? And I am getting back to the point, which is like, that is such a long-term betrayal with so much like long-term lying, multiple lies, and humiliation at the end of it. I would rather, and look, I've never been on the show, but in theory, I would rather somebody do like a one vote betrayal, like when Carolyn took out Sarah and then had to get back on board with Jam Jam, or like Tony, the many times he had to get back on board with Trish, rather than this long term extended theater of like, oh my God, Danny had this idol, and then you're working together another week, and then Danny tells on you that like you've been in on it the whole time, and it's this longer term backstab. Like, I would rather like better the devil I know. Like, you were my enemy on this vote. I understand why. Now let's work together this week. Then I find out in 2 weeks that you were in on this like massive conspiracy unnecessarily, frankly.
Yeah, so that's very interesting in terms of like lies versus cons, in terms of like, okay, all right, you lied to me about that. Okay, we can move on. But you're still like plotting against me. But how do you use that in terms of like utility, where like, is that like, okay, well, if somebody like betrays you on a vote, are you sort of like, okay, well, I'm just framing it as like, okay, well, at least they haven't been like hiding a bigger lie from me for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, I just like it's almost like this snakiness. Like, at least they'll take a side. And maybe this is a bad stand because it's like, well, they'll take a side and that side is against me and they'll vote me out or they'll vote out my ally. But it's just a little wormy to try to play the middle this long. Like,
Yeah.
And maybe this is my own like stuff of like, I'd have to be dumb to think that you got blindsided by this too. And so like, don't belittle me by like acting like we're working together when you cast a vote by omission, basically. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know how this is actionable, because maybe it is better to work with somebody who's shown a little flexibility than to work with someone who's adamantly worked against you. But the person who's worked against you, like a Kane, who now is against the ropes, I'd rather work with that person because we're equally desperate. His interests are aligned with mine, because if he doesn't work with me, he's gone, versus someone in a position like Carson or Jam Jam, who now has all of these options and is kind of lying to everybody and no one really knows where they stand.
Yeah. So I feel like if it's somebody that you like were working with before and they screwed you over, you can forgive but not necessarily forget. That's still better than somebody that like the vibes are off and it's like, something is weird and you don't really get, even though they haven't done anything to you yet. It's like a feeling like it doesn't feel 100% like it's good.
I mean, am I crazy? Like, is it better to like, work with somebody where there's like, I guess, yeah, if somebody was willing, maybe it's this, if somebody was willing to let you go, even if they didn't do the axe chop, even if they didn't do the vote themselves, Jam Jam and Carson's participation in this plan was as bad or as much of a betrayal as actually voting against Ratu. And I just think it's crazy that they're going to get some sort of marginal credit for just participating as a bystander. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just that, like, when you're in the game, I just feel like that you are not going to have all that information until it's too late. But I do feel like that maybe it is a case for not just ruling out a person who may have not worked with you on a previous vote. Like, you can't, especially now, you can't write these people off.
So what you said, which is true, is like, what choice does Ratu have? Ratu still has to sort of hope that Carson and Jam Jam have enough willingness to like flip back. But is there too much love lost between like Ratu and Soca to like try to get together now against the Tikka 3? Or like, it's really just going to continue to be the same narrative of like the Tikka 3 are going to decide which group loses a member?
Well, let me ask you on that note. Do you feel like that Danny made the right call here to use his idol in this moment to take out Brandon and save Franny?
How much of this, this goes back to Jamal's principle of like, sometimes it's better what you don't do than what you do. Like, how much of this was like, I've got an idol in my pocket and I don't want to go home with it and I don't want to play it wrong, like Jamal said. So I've got to get rid of, like, oh, they're like, somebody's threatening Soca and our numbers are down. Like, this seems reasonable. I'm going to play it. Like, it just felt I didn't understand why that was the A plan when Tikka was voting with them or could have been voting with them.
Yeah, I don't really know either, and I just feel like that, and I'm always like trying to like think of like, okay, what was like the third option there? But I just feel like if Danny goes to Brandon, like, listen, look, remember us, remember the chicken salad, remember remember the raps with where we ignored Carolyn. Like, look, I could go after you, you could go after me. Like, let's do that. Let's get back on the same page. Remember us? And I just feel like that Brandon would have been up for that. But I don't see how Danny isn't targeted in these next couple of votes now.
Yeah, I don't know where Danny has to go, especially without the strain between him and Heidi, which is like my other question was like, is there a time where it's too late to tell your closest ally that you have an idol before you play it? Like, isn't that also sort of this long con where like, okay, now because it benefits me, I'm going to tell you. I feel like he didn't really bring Heidi in and say like, we have this idol and we're going to use it and we're going to like, and maybe it is because like there wasn't enough time to really get the plan together and everybody was scrambling. But from what we saw, I think Heidi felt like a little bit of a way that she didn't know about this idol and then felt like, well, I'm going to use it because I'm desperate to make this move. And then that comes back and Danny's upset. So like how much long-term damage, if any, is going to be between Heidi and Danny now?
Well, I think they're going to feel good because I think feel like they saved Franny. We did it. We put this plan together. And so I think that had it not worked, maybe that there would be more animosity between the two of them. But I kind of feel like that they're feeling pretty good about the whole situation. And, Heidi still like she's going to feel like, okay, well, now Danny and I were the same again. He doesn't have an idol. And now, we're going to keep moving forward.
Do you think Danny, whether or not he made the right decision about Franny, if Danny is, let's say Danny's going to play the idol on Franny, should he have just completely kept it to himself and played it on her? Or like maybe tell Franny so that she doesn't try to scramble? Like did the secret get out too wide before Tribal?
Yeah, that's interesting to tell everybody. I don't know necessarily. Like, I guess I get why you want to tell everybody so that they don't like ruin the like do anything that's gonna like throw the whole thing out of whack. Where if Danny's like, okay, we got them right where we want them. I'm gonna play an idol tonight, but it also that is so hard to like not get people to be scrambling around and doing it. I think that ideally he doesn't say anything to anybody, but I don't know, like how does Franny and Heidi go into that tribal council and not just be like super paranoid and out of control?
Yeah, unless it's like the things we hear people talk about on your podcast after the fact is like a quick, like right before tribal or like a live tribal whisper, like I'm going to play that for you.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Right. Because you get to the situation where now, okay, Franny's like, well, I'm going to play my shot in the dark tonight because and now, even if Heidi isn't going to play her shot in the dark, now potentially it's only 2 votes on Brandon. And then if the other side does execute a vote split, and maybe that's the part of this that we're not giving Danny and Heidi enough credit for, and Franny enough credit for, if the other side potentially does have Tikka on board and they execute the vote split correctly, then there would only be 3 Soca votes, and they could potentially split the votes against them 4-3 on 2 of the Socas.
So going back to your original question, did Danny make the right move in saving Franny?
Yeah.
Can I ask you what you think his motivation was? Was it to keep Soca strong, or did he see a move did he see an opening like Franny just lost her number 1, I'm gonna curry favor and pick her up as her new number 1?
I think that Danny saw this is gonna be the hero move where I'm gonna play my idol. I've got this lined up and I'm not gonna have another shot like this. And so Brandon's a big target. I'm gonna take him out. I'm gonna save Franny. I'm gonna get a ton of points with the jury, but the story of Survivor, especially here in the new era, has been, you cannot peak too soon. And I just feel like that this is going to be the move we're going to remember Danny for, but I feel like he's out of the game in the next couple episodes.
Here's the thing. I'm not even going to remember Danny for this. I'm more
Mhm.
likely to remember the fart at the challenge than I'm going to remember this. Only because it's so, like you said, it's so early. The path
The
forward
biggest move of
isn't
all was
it,
the fart.
it's just not clear. The path forward for him especially is not clear. It felt kind of premature. It felt frankly a little sloppy. I felt like he
Like the
had the
fart.
votes. Yeah, he had the votes potentially. And now maybe Jam Jam and Carson are only open to this because they're allowed to like hide in their fake web of lies and continue to vote with the majority. But do you think this happens if Matt survives and Jam Jam goes home and it's 4-4-2? Does Danny still do this, or does Danny not do it because they only need to flip one?
Yeah, they
Two? One?
probably don't play the idol. Yeah, and Taryn had Grace on the Stock Watch this week, and they were talking about the decision of Matt versus Jam Jam. And looking back, like it's only 1 week later, they definitely made the wrong move to vote out Matt instead of Jam Jam. Like Jam Jam turned out to be way more dangerous of a player. Like with all due respect to Matt, who seems like an awesome guy, and I bet he's a really swell boyfriend. Like he wasn't good at Survivor, right?
Not swell. I mean, if his jury poker face is any indication, yeah, I think he's like maybe not a top tier player.
Yeah.
But
Well, who
yeah,
cares about tribes in the new era? Like, shouldn't you shouldn't the decision be like, okay, Jam Jam is really good. Like he's like, I really like this guy. Matt is a horrible liar. I'm gonna keep him around. Like, oh, he has a showmance, but it's like a known showmance. Like, isn't that like not nearly as dangerous as what Jam Jam has going on? Is like this low key three that are moving around that nobody's worried about.
Yeah, and it goes back to our conversation earlier about underestimating. Like Jam Jam is everyone says is so great to be around. I can understand that. I'd love to be around Jam Jam. And it's just like he's fun. Oh my god, it's Jam Jam. Like whatever. Whereas Matt's got this baked in majority alliance and seems more threatening by the numbers, but realistically probably isn't the bigger threat.
Yeah. Let's take a voicemail about Danny and his idol play. Here's a question from Brian.
Hey y'all, this is Brian from West Virginia. So even though Danny probably doesn't have much of a shot at getting to the end, don't you think this move is actually like the best bet for him to get to the end by keeping his green tribe strong? Because if not, he's just going to get picked off anyways. So potentially if green can stay strong, don't you think this actually could have been his best move? Also, do you think the fart during the challenge was actually strategy to get Lauren to fall and lose the challenge? Thanks.
Which part of that do you want to pick up first, Ali?
Did you call the fart chemical warfare?
Someone did not. I did
said
not.
That.
Did you? Maybe was it? What was it? Was it Taryn and Grace?
No, it might have been Steven. I don't know. Like I'm all for chemical. I feel like someone said that, but yeah, let's table the fart for a moment. Muffle it, if you will. I agree that the biggest issue for Danny is if Brandon goes out, he's the next biggest target based on what people traditionally think of as a challenge threat. Although we will note that Lauren and Franny are bigger challenge threats than Danny, apparently, which I buy. So I don't really know what his path forward is. If he loses Franny, that maybe makes the Soca tribe a little bit weakened, and maybe there's more flexibility to work with Tikka in the swing this week and get out Brandon in the next week. You can always win immunity. You've got the idol. I don't know that it was like his best move. I also don't know that he's earned any favor with Franny. Like, I don't think this really is going to bring them any closer. And I do think there's a hairline strain between him and Heidi. You're right that probably the fact that they pulled the move off and it was successful will bond the three of them. But it was a weird road to get there for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they only have 3. Like, it's not like that this move. And I did my burning question this week about, when should you play or how to play the idol for your alliance. And I feel like back in like old school Survivor, you'd get to the merge and there's 10 people and there's 5 on that side and there's 5 on that side. And I even saw it was 13 years ago this week, and I didn't get that from Jordan Kalish, that Parvati played her two idols in the best instance of somebody playing an idol for an alliance. And that was going to be a 5-5 vote. And it was really going to dictate, like, are the heroes going to just run the table or are the villains going to run the table? That's not what's going on here. We don't even know if Tikka is like more aligned with Soca than with Ratu. So it was like a move to get Brandon out of the game. They don't have like a big majority. So I don't think that this was the line in the sand vote for Danny. So yeah, it helps to have Franny in the game, but I do understand why like a player like Danny feels like, okay, I need to try to keep my people around for as long as possible but the calls are coming from inside the house. Franny is talking about getting rid of Danny, like the right strategy for Danny, and that James Jones was on with the Purple Pants podcast with Bryce and Jack Atkins, the baby boy, talking about how Tony really had the best strategy for being a player like a Danny, like James last season, where you got to be lions and hyenas. And so here's Danny at the final 10 using his idol to take out one of the other lions and keep in ultimately. And maybe you could say, okay, well, Franny's actually a lion also, but he's got to keep those big targets in the game if Danny's going to win.
Yeah. Do you think Danny feels like he can just find the idol? Like we see him in the preview searching,
I do think
like, I'll get it back.
Yeah, I did say that in the burning question video. That there is a thing. Like if you are like a Tony and you can find the idol, sure. Especially here in the new era. Where the idols and the advantages are just so ubiquitous. Like, sure, play it, go find another one. Yeah, he can potentially do that, but it's not a lock that he's going to do that.
No, definitely not. And like,
although it might literally be a lock that he has to open to get the idol.
If I'm being really generous, maybe it shows some trust between to like win over the Tikkas. Like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to play this idol. I'm going to let you vote to protect yourself. And I'm actually going to go through with it and do it. Like, I do what I say, but I really don't think that matters. It's interesting how you said, like, this is in the new era. It's 3-3-3. Tribes don't matter. Very strange, though, that these tribes have really seemed to matter. Do you think that's a product of the two votes where they weren't really merged and had to separate and vote along tribe lines?
Yeah, that's interesting. And just going back to what Mike had brought up, like they've only been at this merge for 2 days. So it seemed like a long time to us, but they only came into this mergatory like 72 hours ago. So I do think that these lines are going to blend even more potentially. And so I really feel like it's more about just like who can you work with as opposed to who did you ultimately start with.
It's tough too, because I'm looking at these remaining tribes, and if the decision is gonna be who Tikka wants to take to the end, then maybe the rest of Ratu is gonna continue to ride strong, because based on what we've seen, like, what's really the end game for Jamie, Lauren, or Kane? Like, I think Heidi, Franny, and Danny, based on what we've seen, and that's probably intentional by the edit, have the stronger case to get votes at the end.
Yeah. Now I could see like maybe like a Heidi, Lauren, Jamie thing ultimately happening, where I feel like that Lauren, where Jamie is like I guess is Jamie like the carry to the like Miranda and Charlotte of Lauren and Jamie. Lauren and Heidi.
What?
Like she's a mutual friend. They don't like really know each other without but they both have the same other friend.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, that is like, I don't know where Jamie goes. You think Jamie is more likely to be able to pull Heidi to her and Lauren? I feel like if anything, Heidi's more likely to pull Jamie in, because this is sort of Heidi's brainchild, and the edit gives her the credit, and I think she's going to take the credit deservedly of, I came and I pitched. Who are the 4 names she mentioned? It was the Tikka 4 and her, right? Like, that's her pitch, is like, we need to be moving forward together. I don't know if Jam Jam's going to forgive her for she's going to buy the story of I needed to ruffle the least amount of waves, ruffle the least amount of feathers with Ratu on the change of vote advantage in the mergatory one. But I don't see Heidi now immediately flipping back to Ratu. I mean, that would be cool.
No, I don't think Heidi is going to flip to Ratu. I just think that maybe if they're like and it's Heidi was actually called that group, the Misfits. I could see maybe Heidi trying to get a group together to potentially go up against the Tikka group with Lauren and Jamie potentially, even though I don't think it's a likely thing to happen.
Before we get back to the fart, one question about Heidi's game is like, it's interesting where, when she's given that, what was it called? The control vote?
Control vote.
She's given the control vote, the classic control vote.
Yep.
And that is a crazy advantage because you have to be, and it's already been discussed, but like you have to like really put a matzo ball out there in front of everyone, and you better hit. Because unless you do something like she did, which is sort of a non-measure, like I'm going to take one vote from a seal.
She tried to sink the matzo ball.
Yeah, exactly. She was like, no one can see this, but you push the ball down, they float. The good ones, they float. So unless you do that, which she did, it's like a big matzo ball out there, whatever. I am almost shocked at the juxtaposition of her avoiding basically stepping in it in that week's episode. And then this week, not caring, completely going out in front and putting it all out there. Is this just a week too late, or would last week have been too early?
It was like last week was, trying not to declare war. I feel like that she was like, I'm going to keep my options open. But somehow between that vote and this vote, it was like, okay, I know I am going to go down this path where it seems like inconsistent, where if she was going to make this move at this tribal council, then probably the move she should have made at the last tribal council was to play the vote and have somebody voting against Lauren so that her extra vote would get tied up in the revote. Like that, she kind of let Ratu take the first shot. Now, potentially she wanted Matt to go home so that she would have Franny as an ally. And if she does feel like Franny is such an important chess piece on the board, maybe for Heidi, it benefited her the most to completely sell out and keep Franny from going home, where maybe it didn't benefit Danny as much to keep Franny. But if you're Heidi, now this is 2 votes in a row that you have worked to ensure that Franny has nowhere else to go than be your right-hand person.
That makes sense. I buy that.
But for Danny, not so much. But let's go back to Danny and his strategy, because going back to Brian's question, was it strategy for Danny to fart in the challenge?
When you're like going back to Danny's strategy, I was like, oh, I thought we were going to go back to the fart. I forgot that they were now one and the same. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this on a recorded podcast, but I believe the better strategy would be silent but deadly, I believe is the
SBD.
Phrase.
Yes. I mean, silent but deadly. Is that not the complete correct strategy for the new era of Survivor? Like in the old days, you wanted like big, like room shaking moves that everybody knew would be on your resume. You would want everybody to know that was this guy right here. But now, silent but deadly. That's exactly how you want to play the game. And then at the final tribal council reveal, it was me all along. You had no idea. What? Yes. You all thought it was the dog. It was me.
Ding.
Silent but deadly. I mean, that would be Survivor Silent but Deadly would be a great name for if they bring themes back.
Yeah, and they'll put Danny at the trading post.
Yeah. Can we go back? Can we listen, Ali? We've been so serious for 54 minutes of this podcast talking about all this stuff. Can I play the moment in question?
If you didn't, I'll scream. Like, you have to play it.
Okay,
we have to really get into this.
Let's get into this, okay?
Channel whatever you need to. Jeff. Danny.
Okay. How about this, Ali? How about this setup? Like, oh, Jeff.
He didn't have a plan, right? Like, I thought there was a punchline or there was like going to be a concern. Like, after I heard the fart, the alleged fart, I was like, there was something missing, you know? Like, it's like, it became rude. Though I feel like the setup without a punchline or without a, like, this is embarrassing, but it's Survivor, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it was, I think Jeff handled this like a class act, but it was quite rude in the setup.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just like, hey, guess what?
Danny.
Okay. Now, I've listened to this a number of times.
I'm sure you have.
Is it that strikes me as, I don't know, like the audio is quite perfect. It's loud. The contestants are not mic'd up in any sort of way that you would have to be able to hear like a noise. And this is like a duck more so than what you would normally think. And in my experience, I
was going to say like rubber clown shoe. Feels like there's like
right. And I just wonder, like, did the FCC get involved? Like, okay, that sounds that, you know, if you could hear it perfectly, like, does that sound good? Jeff said this is a show for children. Like, this sounded like a sound effect.
First of all, Sam, timestamp this for career day at Rob's kids' school for cut this clip. Second of all, do you think the FCC weighed in on the quality of the fart clip?
I think a bunch of producers sat around and said, can you hear it? Does that sound like we're gonna need to put in a sound effect here. Let's put it. Okay, does that sound too wet? Like, what does that sound like? Okay, and this is what they ultimately went with. I don't know.
What is it called? Like reshoots when they bring the cat, like in like Bravo
Foley.
shows do this. Yeah, do you think they had
ADR.
Danny come in and fart into the mic?
No
And
way.
then use that?
No way. I don't think they had him come in. I will have to, like, one day we'll have to get like from Lauren or somebody who was there up close. I mean, obviously it was loud enough. Jeff reacts to it. Jeff knows that there has been something has happened.
That was nice. Well timed.
Danny, listen to Danny. Danny is crack. I'm surprised he didn't fall out of the challenge. Listen to him laughing so hard.
Nice. Well timed. So glad I'm not up there.
Who's saying well timed? Because
Jeff.
Well timed would really be if like Jeff said something like, you know when they used to reset, you could like release your ball and like move. If he was like, you can release, and then he farted, that's well timed. It's not well timed to feel a fart coming and be like, psst, Jeff, and then fart. You created the timing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess nobody's ever done that in a challenge before.
What's your take on it? I mean, you like, it's giving us something to talk about.
It's giving us something to talk about. I mean, it's unique, and really anything that happens in Survivor 44 that's a first to have happened, that's not like some wacko like production contrived thing that they throw into the show, I'm here for. Especially these lighthearted moments that we will forever remember the time Danny farted in the challenge. So I'm here for it.
Should I write into Jeff's podcast on the This Is Why You Suck segment and be like, I can't believe you called Danny's fart well timed. I think you should have had a better reaction than that.
Yes, because I think they would read that. They're like, all right, Jeff. Like, oh my God. Oh boy. All right. This is going to be painful. Like, dear Jeff, I don't know why in that challenge you said that fart was well timed. Like, all right, I got to wear this one. All right, it hurts. It hurts. But
I'm going to have Annie
I got to own it. I got to own it. Yeah.
The children, the future Survivor fans, future Survivor contestants write in, I'm Annie Sinensky, daughter of Bob Sinensky, and I didn't like that fart. That will get read. Now I'm gonna start like just trying.
That's what they
to
make
get
the
onto
show
that
for.
podcast.
Jeff said they make it for kids.
I mean, I do not to get serious on the fart talk, but I do love that because I fell in love with Survivor as I think I was 7, and stick with it, kids, and you will one day not be on the show, but you will be talking to someone who was on the show.
Yes. Now Shannon was talking about this on the Survivor Global podcast this week. It's one thing to make it, and that that you have in mind that kids are part of your overall audience. But should the objective of the show be to make it for kids?
I thought you were going to say it's one thing to make it, and you were talking about Danny's fart. Yeah, I mean, I think you should actually be angling RHAP more towards if a 7-year-old is listening to this, are they inspired to download the next episode?
Should I replace the bell?
For me, like when I say something, do it to Akiva, see if he notices,
Yeah. Okay, Akiva, we're gonna play a game today. It's called "What's This Sound?" Okay, Akiva, what this sound is on TV. What is that? What does that sound?
I think he would say a fart as a joke, and then you'd be like, "Yeah, it's a fart."
Yeah,
and
but
he'd be like, "No way."
Yeah, that was a fart. Yeah. That
Yeah,
was in place of the bell. Yeah.
Should they be making the show for kids? I mean, I will say that listening to the On Fire podcast
Yes.
has made me more confident. I've never been like a Jeff hater, but has made me more confident and more confident in Jeff and more concerned about the future of the show without Jeff, because love him or hate him, which I love him, this man loves this show so much, and he has no business listening to fan criticism or feedback, much less having it read to his face on air. And like, he's always like, I'm just trying something. We're just trying something. Like, I think I've totally bought into the narrative being being put out on the On Fire podcast. So if you told me in a vacuum, Jeff's creating the show through a child's eye, is that what you want? I'd probably be like, no. But also, if a child can comprehend the strategy going on with all of the fake idols and all of this, then these are brilliant children, and Survivor's important education. Like, then it's amazing.
Yeah, I think that we need to hold these two thoughts in our hands, where that Jeff, no other person, I believe, would be like as dedicated to, and really, I do think that most Jeff should get more credit for being a driving force for keeping the Survivor going and being as passionate about making Survivor than he has for the past 23 years. And he has certainly had periods of burnout where if a different opportunity would have come his way, that he would have left Survivor, and it probably would be in way different hands where people would not care as much about the end product of what he does. So he has kept this ship going for a very long time, and he is 100% committed, full steam ahead, where this ship is going to sail, and I am the captain, and we are going, and we are in good hands. At the same time, I think we can also say, I think he's lost the map, and I don't know if we are confident about the direction where it's going, but that Jeff should get more credit for being the force of keeping Survivor going and going strong for as long as it has.
Who among us wouldn't have considered other options after 44 seasons, but it's interesting with the direction. I mean, here's what I think is the best thing about Jeff that I think is apparent from the podcast is and that's really my only window into him. I don't really kind of pay attention to his goings on. Otherwise, he really listens to other people. And sometimes those people are Tyler Perry, and sometimes those people are Mike White, and sometimes those people, presumably oftentimes, are the editors and the producers, who all seem like really passionate people who care about the vision and whatever. He's not on some I'm the czar of Survivor and everything I say is perfect and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I really do admire at least his vocalized willingness to take the feedback and pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that hasn't actually borne fruit, but I like the way he talks about it.
So I feel like that, it's a two-sided sword for Kane here on the Dungeons and Dragons of it all. Jeff is very open and receptive to feedback when he feels like it comes from someone who is a peer of his in the entertainment industry. He is very reticent to take any feedback from somebody who is like, hey, I have studied this show and I know that this is a direction you're like, like, hater, what do you know? Like, get back to me when you have an Emmy. Whereas like somebody's like, hey, I just won a Golden Globe. I've seen one episode of the show. You know what you should do? Like, oh, let me get a pen. All right, all right. Let me write this down. And I think that is a little bit of a. I was like, he is only open to feedback from people that he feels like that can improve, like are looking at the show like a show, not necessarily from people who are looking at the game like a game.
And here's a controversial yet brave opinion to say, or a question to ask to this audience, not you, like this podcast audience. Is that detrimental to Survivor? Like, I'm forgetting that annoying Latin word, like not ipso facto, like period. Like, is that automatically detrimental to Survivor to be looking at it like a show versus like a game?
Well, ideally, I think you should have both. I think that the thing that attracts people to Survivor is the game, and you want to, and that's what attracts people to want to play Survivor, because they want to go play allegedly the world's greatest game. And so when you mess with the game so much so that it is just like, okay, random whack-a-mole, which it is not exactly that, but I feel like we have like veered more towards that than just a pure game. Like, I think, you want to have things to keep the television product exciting, but I do feel like that the focus is probably often too much on, making, exciting, unpredictable, chaotic television. And I think that sometimes like we don't spend as much time thinking about what are the game ramifications of what's happening.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to go too much into
that.
It's been well covered across the podcast throughout the season. So let's not spend too much more time on that. But I do appreciate, like, I think that's very brave of your, stance on it, because I feel like it's not an opinion that, a lot of people have said. And I do feel like that we can also get a little like echo chambery of like a lot of people across. And whereas I do sense from production that they feel like the echo chamber hits them, and it's like, oh, you're all a bunch of whiners, and hey, like there's no way to make you happy.
Yeah, it's interesting. What I was going to pivot to, well, maybe this isn't enough of a pivot, because you guys have been talking about this a lot this week and maybe last, is there seems to be like a call from, I feel like a few seasons ago, or a couple more than a few seasons ago, it was a lot of the criticism was like, people are on the show who don't know how to play the game. You're not casting enough fans. You're not going to, and now it's like, where are those, like you were talking about, Keith Nale is a great example of this. Like, where are the people who are like the characters, not like coach, but like the people who are just like people from all walks of life, from different like points of view, who are maybe not as big of fans. And it's interesting just to be stepping back and listening to people talk about that there's this sort of resurgence of calls for those people. I think Christian Ubicki said something similar. You guys have talked about it all week. Yeah. It's just interesting that now like the pendulum has kind of swung to
are you implying there's no making us happy?
I'm just like, there's no more, now we have too many super fans, and it's like, well, where's the average Joe? Kind of
and I think the thinking is that where, you have players, and I think that this probably like peaked around the time of like, we had like where, Nayanka and Purple Kelly just quit, and you had all these people like, I would never quit the game. I would never, this is my dream. I would never walk away from it. And so I don't think that you can have, and the game is so complicated, if you have a lot of people that either don't care, don't really want to be there, I think that can hurt the product. But when everybody like has the same like knowledge base of like, and everybody looks at the game and thinks about the game in like the exact same way, I don't think that that is necessarily like a good thing either. So I do feel like, you know, you could have some diversity in that. It doesn't need to be all people that know the game, or like 2 people who are fans and 14 people who got recruited off Instagram. So ideally, you know, you want to have like a little bit of a mix.
True. Can I do a hard pivot, just like completely having
Please.
nothing to do with this?
Go for it.
Why did we see Carson sick? Like, is that amounting to anything? Was that just to highlight Carolyn and Carson's friendship, that she would go down with the ship? Is it Chekhov's PB&J? Like, is it related to the fart at all? Like, why are we seeing gastrointestinal distress?
That's a good question. I think that we are seeing it because it was happening, and it led to, I think that they liked the moment of Carolyn picking Carson for the challenge, and ultimately and Carson also looked like very like transparent in this episode. So I think that they definitely wanted to tell that story. But I do have a voicemail from Annie, who has a theory on this. Hold on. Let me try that one more time. Here's Annie.
Last spring around this time, my brother-in-law got salmonella from the recalled Jif peanut butter. Do we know what brand peanut butter was used on the reward this episode?
Okay.
Nothing is safe anymore. Because I was thinking, I was like, why are we talking about the PB&J? Like, you're not going to get ill from PB&J. That can't spoil. And like, look at that, salmonella from PB&J.
Is that really what we think happened? And do you think that that could have, Danny also had the PB&J?
Yeah, I mean, probably extreme starvation after gaining 30 pounds in a short amount of time, and then followed by immediate 12 days of starvation, and then eating a lot probably doesn't help. But I'm willing to say he got salmonella from the PB&J.
Yeah. Also on the B&B this week, Omer was on for a very funny episode, and that they were opining that perhaps the salty potato chips were laced with Olestra.
That feels like a conversation for the science minds on the B&B over in Liana. not really my area of expertise per se.
Perhaps. They were very salty potato chips. Okay.
I do have a complaint about the challenge, a grievance, a very minor grievance.
Yes, please fire away.
Could they not invest? I mean, they put so much behind Survivor. They reuse challenges, which gets a lot of complaints. Like, it feels like there's a lot of high production value going on.
You know,
why were these?
Well,
go ahead.
You know, that's very choice from you that to complain about the 3D printing. I feel like that when you've been so active in your 2D printing over the years, or 1D printing.
My printing's off camera, Rob. So I don't know what you're talking about. I keep a green home. I take short showers. Why did we have little Smeege flags at the challenge? When they had to take the flag after the digging and plant them, they had like a miniature golf flag, or like
I did notice that as well. I was thinking, like, I wonder if that was like maybe like a tiebreaker of like that they needed to, like, you had to get back to the mat and then put the flag in the hole. So I don't know if maybe the Jeff, like, or they thought that there would have been like some kind of like photo finish where, oh, we don't know who got to the mat first. So like the flag might have been easier to see.
So they thought there'd be like this great like diving shot in the sand of the little Smee flag. Like, I just thought it looked like they did a mock-up, and then we're like, well, let's just go with these because the other ones got blown into the water or something. It looked very hilarious to see what was undoubtedly a very grueling challenge.
Sure.
Like, finish a leg with these like tiny little flags for a dollhouse.
Some people have said that they feel like the twisted muddy net is nightmare fuel. Ali.
Like, I keep wanting to make a joke about like Rob and then make like a fart sound, but I don't want to do that, you know.
Make a joke about me?
Like, no, I want to be like Rob, like would answer that with like a dramatic,
you don't have
like,
a soundboard.
Rob, and then be like, oh, I could make a fart sound, you know. Like, I'm not above that, but anyway. Yeah, I agree. I think there are two. First of all, the whole idea of going on Survivor, I want to be clear, is a nightmare fuel to me. Like, I have no interest. No one would want me there. It's just like it's mutual, terrifying. However, the two things that particularly terrify me about certain reality TV competitions, particularly Survivor, are this net, which is like being buried alive but above ground, like horrible, like being caught in a giant net.
Mm-hmm.
And anything where you have to dig under a log and then force your body through the sand under the
You
log.
wouldn't like that.
People are not talking enough about how terrifying that would be to get stuck under that, or like have your back like grate against the sand.
Mm-hmm.
Horrific.
Yep. Okay. Well,
More takes on physical challenges I wouldn't want to complete.
All right. Well, I was planning a, RHAP like team building exercise, but I'm going to scrap the muddy, twisty net and the log dig under the sand.
First of all, if there was such an RHAP offsite, I would either not be invited or not attend.
And you have to pick a partner.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll watch from the sideline. I'll be like Carson. I'll be like Claire on the sit-out bench.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, you're not going to be able to participate for the reward also. Okay. Let's see some other questions here. All right. How about the question about going back to the idol play? The great Josh Kettles has a question, has a lot of great thoughts about Survivor. Here's Josh.
Hey, Rob and Ali, this is Josh Kettles calling in. I'm calling in because I have a question. Did we narrowly avoid disaster with this vote out? I actually get the sense that Ratu was potentially one round away from entering into a steamroll, Pagong-esque run for the next few rounds. Here's why I think that. At the beginning of this episode, we hear Kane. He's really overconfident about Ratu's position and says that, a Ratu member is going to win this game. And if they don't, something went really wrong. Brandon in his exit interview is talking about how he was very Ratu strong. Even with Kane, who is the most shaky member of their tribal alliance, was, somebody who is willing to work with. Last round, they really just ganged up and voted out Matt from Soca. I just get the sense that they were really solid. And if they went into the next tribal council with Lauren's extra vote, they could potentially force a 5-5 tie and even a rock draw. Now, if they win the rock draw or a game of chicken, to pull somebody over to their side, I get the sense that they would have stuck together and just voted out Tikka and Soca one by one until it got down to, the Ratu at the end. Now, am I crazy to think that this would be possible in the new era of Survivor? Let me know what you think. Thanks.
Ali, do you feel like that Ratu was about to go on a roll?
Explain the numbers to me again, like I'm the age of someone Jeff used.
So they have four Ratu in Brandon, Lauren, Kane, and Jamie. And also, don't forget that Lauren also has the extra vote. So I do see why Danny and the Soca people might have felt like this is a last stand for us here tonight. If we don't take out a Ratu, we're going to go to 9. They have 4 and Lauren's extra vote. That makes 5. And then ultimately we're all going to get picked off. So I do see, I can see why they might have felt like, okay, this is the night where we need to make our stand.
Yes, I agree. And usually I feel like we would see someone like Heidi, and again, more credit to Heidi for sort of raising this and Danny for acting on it. Well, I don't think it was the right move for Danny as an individual, which we've already covered, but sometimes we see people where, okay, if it's not me, then fine. And I'll get to the next week and I'll work it out then. And then it's sort of too little too late. Like, it does seem like, even though I criticized Heidi's, lack of matzo ball play last week, I think kudos to her for acting the last week. She could really make a move like this. Mm-hmm. Should Lauren have used, I guess it wouldn't have mattered because they're idling Franny out of the game. I just don't know what to make of hearing from Brandon that Jam Jam tipped him off, that it could possibly be him, and just, I guess, chalk it up to no time to do anything about it. But that seems like a tough way to go.
It sounds like Brandon, and he told with Dalton Ross and with Mike Bloom that he said, and with me, he said he wanted to do a vote split, but he was working on painting the tribe flag, which ideally, in terms of priorities, I think you want to do the vote split and then work on the tribe flag later. There's, if you get the vote split right, you have unlimited time to work on the tribe flag. But vice versa, maybe not so much. So I do feel like that was a drop ball. He said that he heard from Jam Jam that he could get a vote, that maybe that they were going to put a vote on him, which I guess did not send Brandon into like a paranoid state that it would send me into.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing that like Brandon assumed that Matt did have the real idol based on his like freak out about not having his bag. Like it does seem like a series of unfortunate events. That like Danny's idol is able to stay sort of hidden and blindside Brandon. Also, maybe to Brandon's credit, like for the same reasons we're debating whether it was the right move for Danny, he knew Franny didn't have the idol and he was shocked that Danny would use it on her. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, yeah, I guess that Josh does make a good point that it could have been and Brandon is like a team first guy. Like, I do feel like that these former athletes, they come out there and they're very much about like the team and our group. And so like that Kane was like the one vocalizing about how like, hey, Ratu is feeling good, especially coming off of the split tribal council where it's like, oh, this is perfect. We voted out Matt. Maybe we voted out his idol. Like we're on a roll now.
I just don't know how bonded Ratu really is. Because again, I'm just looking at these 4 personalities and I'm not really seeing the glue. I think the closest glue is now gone. Like they only voted one person out and that person only got one vote. Matt gets medevac and now Brandon goes. Like I don't really see like the gel of Ratu that would have like taken them to the end. And maybe there's just like, well, if we're smart, we'll just go to the end together. But I don't know that I would have seen it for them bonding wise.
Did you happen to see the secret scene, Ali, of where Kane found Brandon's fake idol?
The way that you can do conservatively 600 hours of preparation, and there's always, I said this to Sam, there is always something you're going to be like, you missed that.
Yeah,
missed
so
it.
Brandon, much like we saw with Carolyn and with Danny, went through the same charade of I'm going to hide my fake idol so that a random person will find it. And Kane was the random person, and he immediately recognized like, oh, this was Brandon's idol because he's seen it before. He's seen the fake idol.
Yeah, didn't they reveal that at the?
And he went to Brandon and he's like, I found your fake idol. But to me, I still that just hiding a fake idol, like at least Matthew was like, okay, I am going to lead a person to it. To me, like just putting like random booby traps in the jungle, to me, like that just giving people fake idols, they don't think that they're fake and they play with more confidence. And like it's not a good idea just to give random people fake idols. And you don't even know that they have the fake idols, and they go out there like, hey, I've got the idol. Okay, well, let's do this tonight. Let's do this.
Well, is that an example? I mean, Brandon got hoisted by that because Matt acted with confidence of like, I really need my bag over a fake idol. And then Brandon thought it was the real idol and voted based on sort of that fake information. I know it wasn't his fake idol that Matt found, but like definitely the same kind of mentality. Yeah, I don't like the hiding of the fake idol. I don't like it for all the reasons Steven's already said, that there should be some way for the person to make a determination. I get it now in the merge and the mergatory, like people are more easily able to put the pieces together. But yeah, I mean, Jamie has a fake idol. Do you think it's affecting how she's playing?
Yes. I mean, you see her, she's like, hey, I'm the MVP out here. I'm the most valuable player. Like everybody, like people should be working with me. Like I have advantages. Like, and she's carrying herself with like way more confidence than she would be if she knew that she had a fake idol.
Here's the thing about Jamie. I didn't get Jamie in the first few episodes, and I was like, oh, I hate it because I want to root for Jamie, but I'm just like not. And then I realized the problem was me, because I really do think Jamie just is that cheerful all the time and is that into manifestation and is that confident of a person, idol or not, that I don't understand, because I'm not a cheery person who's always has my 10 face on. So I'm like, you have to be fake to be being like that, because who would be like that? And then you're just like, no, you really are like that. So I'm kind of coming around on her. I think she just is that kind of person, but fair enough if there's some energy sort of wafting from the fake idol.
Great. Let's take a question about Jamie since we're talking about her. Here's a question from Yale.
Hi, Rob and Ali. I'm so excited to hear you both talk about Survivor. Love when Ali's on. And Rob, always love hearing you. I have a question about Jamie. And last season, in season 43, we got Gabler hiding in plain sight throughout the whole season. And every once in a while, we would get a confessional where he basically told us that that was his strategy. This season, we have Jamie constantly saying, I'm the most valuable player, I'm the MVP, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any chance in either of your minds that Jamie could be sitting at the end and her final storyline will be that she was hiding in plain sight, the MVP all along? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much. And this is Yael calling from New York City.
Okay. Yael. Okay. Could we see potentially Jamie as the MVP of the season?
Do you think that that would be her narrative if she were in the final three? Like what we talked about before? Like, would she say, I was under the radar, I was in front of you the whole time, I made smaller moves that were deliberate? Like, would she say the narrative that the jury wants to hear? Or would she be like, I was the champion of this game and I was incredible, and, you know, things that the jury wouldn't jive with?
I don't know if she necessarily is saying that she played under the radar. I think that I feel like her story has been like, hey, I am actually, you know, the person who's making these moves happen and you all can't see it. Even when Matt got voted out, you know, she tweeted out the clip of like her wanting to work with Matt and him saying, yeah, I'm going to take it like a little slow. And she's like, I don't understand why these people aren't wanting to work with me. I know everybody. I am the most important player out here in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think and I know you've been, you know, projecting this, I think a huge decider on her game is going to be what shakes out with that fake idol.
Yeah.
Because I think it's hard to come back from a confident fake idol play to reveal it's fake. And now if that takes her out, that takes her out. But if it were like if Danny played this fake idol on Franny and Franny went out, hard to come back from.
Do you think that we could see Jamie potentially, if Danny says, all right, this is the week, we're going to take out Lauren, and Jamie says, Lauren, I've got an idol. I'm going to play it on you. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And so now we're going to get one over on Danny. And then the votes are going to be like we're going to have the votes on Lauren, and James, Jeff, I'm going to play this idol tonight on Lauren. And everybody's like, oh my God. Oh no. Worst case scenario. And then Jeff says, this is not a real hidden immunity idol.
Do you think, though, it's possible for her to still not even suspect that it's fake because of how everything's becoming revealed? She does not.
I don't think she suspects it at all. I mean, that for her, this was not in the birdcage. Everybody else who got duped by the fake idol, that was a real one and a fake one. And she was there for when Brandon opened the fake, the birdcage, saw how it works. But now this is a different scenario. This is like you find a normal idol. And as far as she's concerned, she found the normal idol.
She thinks she found the re-hidden version of the birdcage idol after Brandon played it.
Yes.
Tough
break, right? Because there's no way for her to know that it is fake. The only person that knew it was fake is gone.
But if you're hearing about this abundance of fake idols and that that's like
she has an abundance mentality.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's her biggest. If she does play that fake idol with any sort of confidence, can you win? Can you win and play a fake idol? I mean, maybe it's just like adversity, she triumphed from it, but it's like that's a real dodo edit kind of move. I don't think we've ever had a winner who played a fake idol. I mean, typically you play a fake idol. I don't know if we've ever seen a person play a fake idol for another person. Well, Jamie could be 2 for 2 first time, like record holder, first safe from shot in the dark. And yeah, tell me in the chat, because I kind of feel like that all the people that have tried to do a fake idol like have done it like you know, whether it's Randy or Jason Siska or you know, typically you don't try, like if you like know it's a fake idol, you're pretending, and you know you're not going to go give it to Jeff, you know it's fake. Like in Gabon, Corinne knows that she has Bob. She knows that after Randy got voted out, that she has Bob's fake idol. She doesn't go up and try to give it to Jeff. She knows it's fake. So
only people that didn't know they had a fake idol have tried to play it, like a Jamie Dugan.
It'll be an episode. I look forward to listening to the podcast following that episode.
Yeah.
Jamie plays it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And then her reaction, I would think, like on the set, like there's probably going to be 15 minutes of the show that get cut out where that Jeff's like, this is not a real. No. She's like, no, it is. I found it with Matthew. He was there. And then like I don't know like how they're going to tell her like, actually, okay, so what happened was Matthew hit it. Like she's
what
gonna
if
be
this doesn't
swearing.
happen, Rob? What if this doesn't happen? How disappointed will this automatically a bottom half season if this doesn't pay off?
I don't know if it's automatically bottom half season, but I mean I definitely feel like that we're gonna hear a story about how actually Jamie argued with production for 35 minutes about that it was a real idol.
Danny farted to cut the tension, but it didn't work.
Jeff. Yeah. It's like, dude, do not even start right now, Danny. This is not the time or the place. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We have more questions for you. What else do you have for your notes?
I have no notes. I don't know what you're talking about. No. I want to talk about Matt and Franny a little. I'm sort of on the Jamal Stevens side of like, I really came around to them. I loved seeing them together. I think we missed a great opportunity of them pairing up in this challenge, although they probably would have been worried to do that. But we see Matt's jury face for the first time. And I think we have a lot to talk about there because it's already a big enough target that everyone knows Matt's getting her vote. But to see somebody squealing and squirming and literally doing the cutest thing ever, this little half fist bump behind, like a little yes. Like I don't blame
He's got to tone it down.
It's so fun to watch, but it's getting crazy. Like it's giving me the ick a little if I'm Franny. Let's walk it back.
Yeah, can you do that? Can Franny like hey, tone it down. Tone it down. Like you're at an 11 right now. Bring it down. Tone it down.
Yeah, your 10 face is on. We needed to get into it too. I think the worst thing he could do is continually remind people that she has a boyfriend on the jury.
Yeah. This is a big deal to have, a boyfriend on the jury.
I feel like I have to go back and watch like Blood versus Water. Like I feel like I'm coming back on like, what do you do if someone's got a family member on the jury? I mean, it's only one vote, and I don't know, like what Matt.
But he's the mayor of Ponderosa.
Yeah, but then it's like everybody kind of knows. I'm just so impressed with Franny from when she has that moment with Jam Jam where like her back's against the wall this episode. Votes are coming to her. She feels alone. She doesn't have Matt. Kind of loved when she was like, Matt was so alone and I'm only appreciating it now that I feel alone. Like, yes, turn it on yourself. That's relatable. But Heidi's going to Jam Jam with the plan of voting out Brandon. And Franny goes, what do you think, Jam? And I think that is hard to do to like the person who holds your fate in the game in their hands to give them the agency and ask what they think about it when your back is against the wall and you want to be like, please, will you do that? Here's what you should do it. It's the best move. Please do it. Like she is so under control in a hard situation. I'm so impressed. And I need Matt to stop fanning the flames on the jury, calling attention to it.
He can't control himself. That was ultimately his undoing in the game. Like she was always the one that was like, all right, maybe we should distance ourselves. Maybe we should try to like, and he would be like in the confessionals, like, so I met a girl and things are going really well. She's really cute. We're going to go on a road trip. We're doing all these things. Like the one time,
cute.
Yeah, the one time that she like really like talked about him in the confessionals was like you had to get the producer to be like, hey, are you blushing?
And she is giving it back to him a little, but that's inconsequential, right? Because they can't see her face. So to the extent that they're getting their torches and she's like I survived, like wink, fine. And I love when the tribe members like give a little nods to the jury, like and do the nonverbal jury plays. But Matt has to stop absolutely glowing on that end. Although, do you think like the damage is done and it doesn't really matter what he does because everyone knows he's a vote for her regardless?
I think everybody knows, but it is like a reminder where, like if Heidi is like the next person out, it's like, boy, like she's got a lot of friends over on that jury. If it's just him, I guess it's not that big of a deal. But if it starts to be like a lot of people being like very pro Franny, I do think that is like a good reason to get rid of her.
Yeah, because it is, like I think she's in such a good spot right now where like she was targeted and it missed, but it still kind of projects like she's on the bottom. She was saved by an idol. She can kind of say like, well, that neutered my game. Somebody else saved me. Like maybe the jury won't vote for me now. She lost her closest ally. Like I think she's in a really great position now for like a strong rise.
Yeah, well, I think that her position, I think, is going to be to like work with the people that are like the Tikkas. Like I think that she's like set up pretty well to go and like switch. I think that she has a relationship with Carolyn. I think she has a relationship with Jam Jam. And I think she has a relationship with Carson. And I think that she feels like that very like simpatico with the like Tikka like underestimated misfits.
Yeah, which is she went from like the best position of like all of these allyships in control of the game to no fault of her own, really, unless you count not bringing Matt's bag, which whatever, to like sort of this fake bottom position where she's not really at the bottom. She has a lot of close relationships, but her star has definitely dimmed. And I think that, it's the opposite of peaking too soon. Like, I think she's kind of set up now to have a second peak in the latter half of the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cut to her going home next week, like whatever.
Here's a question I have for you. After Lauren won the immunity challenge, she had a really nice moment. Talked about my kids are going to love this. My students are going to love this. She had kind of, I thought, an awkward moment with Jeff where he went to go put the immunity necklace on her. I feel like she kind of went for a hug. He didn't know what she was doing. Let me play this clip.
Lauren, I'll give you a hug. Oh, let me put this on. Now I'll give you a hug.
On the line, you can take it off.
Oh, I love being a part of these moments. Where are you going?
Okay. Ali, is it your perception? Does Jeff love being a part of these moments and hugging the muddy Survivor contestants?
Well, Jeff does for sure, because I think genuinely, because it goes into the like Suri off the couch moment. Like, you didn't believe you could do this. You surprised yourself, right? Bring it in for a hug.
He does love that part, I feel like.
But I am anti-office workplace hugs, and this is, ultimately a workplace. And I'm with him that it is uncomfortable. Like, who knows what she was going in for? Like, sort of standard approach is to go stand like militantly in front of Jeff with your arms down so you could put the necklace on. It was cute. I loved seeing Lauren's celebration. She seemed to really connect with Jeff's motivational comment of like, what were your kids think? I feel like that really spoke to her. And in that speaking to her, that spoke to Jeff. Like, Jeff likes speaking to people's soul.
Yeah.
But it was awkward for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that, yeah, I don't get the sense that he loves the muddy hug. I also feel like that, but I do think he does love that moment of like, what is it like for you? You've been waiting 25 years for this moment to get here. And then your family at home is watching. And I do feel like that it's probably like an under reported story, like going back to last week when Franny was competing for immunity. Like, I'm sure that Jeff is like, think about what your family at home is thinking about this moment. Think about how long you've taken to work. And then like to expect her to like, yeah, I'm going to step down.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
like, this could be the greatest moment of your life right about now.
Yeah, I'm like happy.
Do not fart.
I'm happy I wasn't there to talk about that moment, because it is like I am very like couch quarterback. Like, I've obviously never been on the show, so I can't imagine what it's like. From the couch, it seemed unimaginable to me that she would have immunity and not step down when Matt was definitely going to go home on the other side. Although I think it's maybe opened up the game for her a little bit more. So I'm happy I didn't have to speak to that part of it. There was another awkward hug, actually, though, at the end of that challenge.
Yes.
It was Jam Jam goes to give Danny a conciliatory hug, and Danny's like, no. And I'm like the sportsmanship police, the self appointed sportsmanship police. And that was a big fart. Didn't love it.
Yeah. Well, I think for Danny, it was one, he wasted the good fart. Two, he really wanted to win immunity and he wanted to vote out Lauren. So it was like a triple whammy.
Well, 2 questions on that. And I think that's what this challenge sets up. First, on the fart, I don't think we can confirm it was a good fart, because if it was such a good fart, it would have made air and didn't need to be replaced by the
Now,
duck
look,
sound.
maybe we're going to hear from the Survivor 40 forecast. I can confirm that's the real fart. That's what it sounded like. Obviously, it was loud enough for Jeff to react to it. But did it sound like a duck?
We need Zach to do the 24-minute YouTube presentation on the fart. Staff him on that. Get that commission, please.
Should we mention this? Because that you and I both watched the 24-minute video that friend of the podcast, Zach Wurtenberger.
Wait, before we get to that, I have to interrupt because I have nothing to say about that. But no, not really. I mean, it's very interesting. You should watch it. It's funny, and I'm happy to talk about it. But should Danny have taken a dive in the challenge then and made sure that Lauren was not immune?
Yes, but prior to ultimately, I don't know what he was thinking. If he wants to vote out Lauren, what did he? I guess did he feel like, oh, then I'll beat her? That'll be insult to injury. I'll beat her in the final part of it because I'm a challenge beast.
I'm gassed up. He's got fuel in the tank.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I ate PB&J and she didn't.
Sorry. If we're going to talk about the Zach thing, I have to get the notes I threw when I thought we weren't going to talk about it.
Okay. You threw the notes. Okay, I like that.
I went like this.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a big stir in the Survivor world. The great Zach Wurtenberger made a video on the lost season of Survivor, now at 37,000 views for Zach Wurtenberger. All about the season of Survivor that never happened, where he he did a ton of research, love all the work that he put into this to try to figure out which people were going to be on a potential season 41 of Survivor. Ali, I know you took a look at this video. Did you have any thoughts on Zach's work?
Yeah, it's like now watching you click through it to get to the beginning. It's like when I first watched this, I was like, what's he doing? Why is he standing up? Why is he got these not what you can see now, but he's got this art behind him. And then it's all part of it. Like, he's very, very smart and very funny. So kudos to him. It was an enjoyable 24 minutes that I admittedly watched reluctantly in preparation for this podcast. Quick question, because he also mentions that Devon's, he calls it the worst victim of the pandemic, that Mike Devins was going to have this assignment as the shopkeeper in Survivor 41.
Yes.
Has Devins responded to that?
He felt like Mike White owes him one. Did you hear the clip that I played last week of what Jeff describing what the twist was going to be for Survivor 41?
Yes, you were. Who was that with?
On the feedback show with Mary last week. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So, and Rick Devins felt like that. He feels like Mike White owes him one.
Now, what's being owed by him? White Lotus 3 cameo or cash
I think
money?
so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll throw him in there. I mean, it's not like there's no precedent for throwing in survivors. I mean, they were going to build a whole season about Rick Devins as the shopkeep. I feel like that Rick Devins could walk through as a tourist at the White Lotus.
Here's a hot take. Is that a good position to be the shopkeep on Survivor?
No, everybody will hate you so much.
Everyone will hate you. What could it possibly pay? You still have to be away from your family for the whole time. You'll never be invited back if you're still wanting that at all, because now you're a part of production.
Everybody will hate you, but I think that in 20 years from now, I think that people will remember it fondly. They should bring back the shopkeep with Rick Devins.
Would you rather be hated now and liked in 20 years? You comfortable with how people feel about you now?
I guess, you're not guaranteed the 20 years, so I guess be comfortable now.
I do love the metric. The reason it was killed, right, is because Mike White said, is it fun, though?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we should all be thinking about our lives. That's sort of how you, I feel are on RHAP, very cutthroat of bad ideas. Like, but is it fun? Do we want to be doing this? Like,
Mhm.
that is a good sort of entertainment perspective outlook on Survivor.
Yeah. I mean, I guess really like wow, Ali, you really cracked this thing wide open. For Jeff Probst, Survivor is his RHAP. Like, really, it's like, hey, nobody's stopping me. I could do literally anything, and nobody is gonna say no. Maybe one of the other producers, maybe CBS has a veto that they could say, like, all right, no, we're not doing that. But pretty much for Jeff, anything that really like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And they're on 44 seasons. Like they've done a lot of season 3 episode 7s, I'm sure from his perspective. And so yeah, like he's looking for things that are like, okay, what's gonna get me excited to be here next time.
Do I have to stop watching Survivor now?
Should they get a wheel of season ideas and spin it at the finale?
I don't know that we can't confirm they don't have one.
Yeah,
I think they'd be open
they
to
do
it.
have the big ship wheel. Like maybe they could just spin that.
Oh my God, that would be, yeah. I mean, I think you're right. It is like what motivates the same people who keep coming back every day, and not just Jeff, like all of production, the challenge producers, everybody.
Mhm.
Like what gets them excited to do the show.
Should we open up a "This is why you suck" segment at the end of RHAP where people can like sound off about like what makes me and Akiva suck?
Yeah, but I'll be the Devon's trading
Yes.
post, and I'll tell the listeners why they suck. Like it's a reverse. It's like, this is why you suck, and I'll just.
I thought you were gonna say you were gonna host the segment of tell Rob and Akiva why they suck.
Oh no! I'll play defense, and we'll shift it. You know, I like to alienate the audience. You know that. I like to say, you know what? Don't listen. Stop listening to this an hour and 46 minutes into like the 8th show Rob's done this week on the same episode.
Yeah, but we're having fun.
I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah,
as I always do.
Yeah, it's gone by very, very quick to get to this point. I can't believe it's been an hour 46 minutes. Anything else about Zach's video that you as you watched it through? It was very well done. Zach's a very talented guy. He's very funny.
I said this, a little bit of a flex to show a screenshot from a text where you have 66 unread messages from a guy who is so desperately trying to reach out to very reachable Survivor contestants. He seems to be quite unreachable himself. So good for him, I guess. I don't know. Get back to your friend, Zach. It does, like, I understand why, like, for anyone who didn't watch it, and I really do sincerely recommend it, like, he sort of rolls out, like, how he came, like, basically each season of Survivor since the unmade season of 41. He's contacted people and asked, were you originally supposed to be on the show? That's pretty much what it is, but he's a funny editor and a funny guy. It seems like it couldn't have taken him 3 years to get this information, though. Like, he ultimately doesn't come away with that much information.
Yeah, I wonder if there are people who are out there who are like sort of like, you know, because he doesn't get to everybody. I think he ultimately gets to like 6 and 6 of like potentially like a 20-person season. So presumably there are other people that he has not discovered yet. I don't want to like do spoilers of the whole video if people want to watch it, but he ultimately gets to 12 people that he is able to figure out were on season 41. So there are 8 other people that are out there that are probably like being either like currently filming Survivor 45 or just being strung along that, hey, oh, you're still in the mix. Don't say anything. Don't reach out to Zach Werdenberger and tell him your identity.
And even if they're not still in the mix, they're so afraid of being out of the mix, even if they're already out of the mix, that they don't want to say, which I respect. I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but it ends up not really being part of the video. But maybe I'll leave it as a blind item. There's a person that he accesses through Xander, who I'm either like, is Xander really in touch with that person still? Or did that just come up on the island? It seems like a really, okay, I didn't know if you went on to.
That's fine. It's fine. Like, I don't give the whole video away. Yeah.
They chums? Like, they keeping up? Like, it's like, oh, Xander
yeah, I do
told
think
me
so.
Brad
I feel
also.
like that I had heard like anecdotally, like Brad was having like people like come to his ranch. And I do think that him and Xander are friendly enough.
Now that's a show I would listen to you and Jenny Autumn cover, like Brad's Ranch on CMT or whatever.
Yeah, I like what you said about broccoli, the ranch. Yeah, Hidden Valley Ranch. Yes, that's what it is. Good, right? Okay. All right. Let me also let's stay on Zach because another moment here from social media. All right, check this out, Ali. So
check it out.
Check this out. Of course, everybody who is on Twitter knows about the whole kerfuffle with the blue check marks and how there were the legacy advantage check marks, which I was a person who had. Let the record show.
Oh, congratulations,
Mhm.
Rob.
But then they changed it up, and now you got to pay to play on Twitter.com. And so that there was, Carson Garrett of this season had recently had a Twitter thread about why he has gone with the blue check mark, and apparently, like, as he's on Survivor, there are people who are out there impersonating Carson, and so this was something that was needed to do. And sure enough, look what happened today. That a Carson impersonator came out with this tweet, Ali, and said, "Isn't our planet beautiful? Fun fact, Carsonauts, if you stand in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and trace the horizon, you won't detect a single degree of curvature. That's because there is none. The Earth is actually flat."
Yeah. A side note, if you watch the Flat Earther documentary on Netflix, like, you won't sleep for 6 months. It's terrifying. But
Oh my
anyway,
What is it? It's about the flat earthers?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
forget what it's
God.
called. It's got a clever name. No, I mean, this killed me, right? Because, like, all of you checkmark people were, like, talking about it over the week, which I don't blame you. Like, it's definitely something to talk about. But, like, Corinne Kaplan, who I have a special place in my heart for, like, made a post about, like, how important the checkmark was, and now she's not going to have one. And someone was like, "Are people trying to impersonate you?" And she, like, was like, "Yeah, see." And it was like a 2018 account with like 3 people that the subject was like, "It's a me, Corinne." But no, I genuinely do, like, I mean, we don't need to talk about my opinions on Twitter right now, but yeah, this is obviously a very, very real problem for Carson, and I'm glad he got in front of it by paying for a 1-month subscription that he will be canceling soon,
Yes.
according to his tweet.
Okay. All right. Well, and then Carson had to come out and clarify, "This isn't me. The Flat Earth Society has found me." But upon further investigation, Ali, look who the fake Carson Garrett really is on Twitter. This is like a Scooby-Doo ending. That if you take a look, the fake Carson Garrett is none other than at Zach Wirt.
First of all, another flex. Look at this one unread message here.
Who,
But
me?
no, yeah, snatch my wig right off. Like, who saw that coming?
Look at this.
Talk about the call coming from inside the house.
The call was going to say, at Zach Wirt is the fake Carson Garrett, Ali.
I mean, if you squint, I can see it.
Yeah. So, all right, Zach Wertenberger. He's everywhere.
Is Carson the next one who's going to be revealed as was going to be on the Blue or Yellow
41?
Tribe of the Lost
No,
season?
he was not. He was not going to be on season 41 because he was actually 13 years old during season 41 of Survivor. So he was not quite old enough yet to play Survivor. Almost.
Back then, Jeff was still producing the show for him.
Yes. He was just one of the kids that Jeff was making the show for. Remember at the Winners at War finale where Jeff's like, "Hey, if you're 16, we'll put you on the show." Like, thank God that Mike White also like, "Hey, like, Jeff, is it fun?" Like,
is it fun?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say when he went and had the child cast the ballot on his back for like who was gonna win.
That was
the show.
for many seasons in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember one specific brunette girl child.
Yeah.
I guess I don't remember her that well because I
should
don't
be
know
on
what
the show
season it was.
soon. Right. Now, do you feel like that, Ali, was this a bad sign for Kane this week that he got lower thirded in confessional as Matt?
You know, he looks like a perfect Matt.
He
Like,
does
Matt
look
looks
like
like
he
a
has
man
big
named
Matt
Matt.
energy. Yeah.
Big Matt energy. Honestly, he has more
King of
Matt
the
energy
Matts, even.
than either of the Matts on this season.
Way more than a Dave Matthews, for sure.
He should consider changing his name to Matt.
Yeah. Ellie, what do you think about Kane's giant pocket? I feel like we haven't talked enough about this. That might be the biggest pocket I've ever seen on a shirt. He's almost like a marsupial. That this pocket is so large. He could fit all the advantages in the game, I think, in this pocket.
I got nothing on the pouch pocket. Like, but it's also it's the most conspicuous pocket. First of all, it's got an unusable snap, so that doesn't like lead to any good like quick opening, and you completely see it. I feel like it looks like he's got something there now.
It's probably good if you have a fake idol and you want people to think you have the real idol. Like you see, like did you stuff your shirt, Matt?
Marsupial. He's got a little Carson that pops out. He's supposed to carry him in his pouch.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. When Carson was ill, he could have just like taken him and put him in his little pocket, carried him around like Hodor.
I'd like to see Carson holding the little flag from the challenge popping out of Matt's little pouch.
That would be fantastic.
This is a
all
great
right.
tweet from Mike Bloom, by the way, when you realize Survivor has nerd blindness.
Yeah, Survivor's nerd blindness. Yeah, a lot of people did catch the Matt lower third for Kane in the episode. So yeah, look, Matt is still in the hearts of the editors for sure.
Which
Still
Matt?
Matt on the jury.
Yeah, well, Matthew, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
Kane. I mean, Kane is now Matt. That's like, what will it take in the exit interview for you to be like, hey, Matt, so good to talk to you?
I think it depends on how soon the exit interview happens. If it's like he's in like the final five, like what are you talking about? Like, but maybe if it's like this week, maybe it'll be topical.
If Kane is eliminated next week, will you call him Matt during the interview?
I don't know how. Like, I guess see how the vibes of the interview are going.
You're being like Jeff if I farted right now. Like you should say no to this. Just say no to me. I'm being annoying. Like
no,
it's like you should not do that.
Yeah. Okay.
But thank you. It's very yes and of you.
All right. Let's ask some Ali specific questions. Okay. First off, Sarah wants to know, as always, which of these U.S. survivors would be the best addition to the challenge / the Challenge USA? Considered the best for drama, best for challenge, social game, and best for the physical challenges.
God, the challenge is just changing so much right now. So it's like it's a live.
In what
show.
ways is it changing?
Well, we just sent the next challenge CBS cast out.
Mhm.
There's like rumors. Is this going to be the challenge's permanent vehicle, and are they going to move away from the MTV show? Like now, like Brian and I had a conversation last week or 2 weeks ago, how basically all three challenges, the challenge proper on MTV, challenge All Stars on Paramount Plus, and the challenge like CBS USA, are all essentially pulling from the same casting pool now. Like there are no rules, the wheels are off. So any of these people could be on CBS, any of them could end up on the challenge proper. I just don't know anymore. That said, running down the list here, maybe Lauren, Brandon. Interesting to see Matthew get a shot here with his new shoulder if he's not going to get the call back that Bruce got. We didn't really see a lot from Maddie, but the challenge doesn't always care about that.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big Josh stan. I didn't even get to talk about Josh because he was gone too soon. I'd love to see Josh, actually.
Well, Ali, I just feel like that with the challenge CBS or the challenge USA, like I do feel like that they have a better like finger on the pulse of like who from Big Brother they want, and the Survivor stuff I kind of feel like is a little bit more random.
I mean, it's when you say random, like the challenge CBS survivors were like Tyson, which I think we both can agree like made sense.
Yes.
As like a fan favorite, like staple image of like Survivor. And then you had Ben and Sarah, who were,
Which was like, who's looking for them?
right.
Like nobody would have said like, oh, you gotta get like, and maybe Sarah was like, oh, well, Sarah is like she's like a former MMA fighter. You got it. But like, with all due respect to Ben, nobody was like, oh, Ben's a fan favorite. Ben's like, oh, he's great TV. You need Ben out there.
Yeah, I don't know if they like the like military angle to QS. I'm just making things up. If they like that he has a relationship with Sarah, and what will that look like if they're building sort of the cast as a whole. He's definitely like a different vibe than most people on the show.
Yeah, Danny and Shan had played recently, so that sort of makes sense. But like Tasha was just like a kind of like a random pull from not to say I was disappointed to see her, but it just seemed like that was kind of like a random person to have been out there.
Who are we forgetting? That's all I remember. So I guess everybody else is random. But even from the regular show, like the people who are coming back from Survivor generally who have been brought back, like, well, I guess like Tommy and Michaela were both on, which kind of makes sense for Challenge Proper. Michelle, Jay, like all kinds of like young hotness.
How was Tommy on the challenge? I feel like that I don't even remember that was a thing that happened. About the same as Survivor? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely didn't perform as well. He didn't win, but
yeah,
I don't think Tommy's getting an invite back.
But was he interesting? Did he do anything on the show? Yeah,
he was not on for very long. In fairness,
because I always get the sense that he was like mad about his edit from Survivor.
Yeah, well, in the same way probably that Michelle was, right? Like they have a similar like I played a great social game and no one gives me credit. Edit. Yeah, honestly, I shouldn't even speak to it. He came and went on the challenge. He was a blip on the radar. Yeah, frankly. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. Maybe you're right that people aren't pulling from. They're not pulling from the right sectors, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. Do you think people would do like Matthew, for example? He seems really hot to come back on Survivor. Maybe with this guaranteed invite back to Bruce, Jeff is signaling some sort of opening of like opportunities to return, even though he previously said like absolutely not. Do you think Matthew would take the invite if he got it to the Challenge CBS, or would he want to like hold? You don't think
I don't think that he is like necessarily interested. I think he loves Survivor. I think that the problem is I think that some of these people like they love Survivor so much. This is their dream to do Survivor, and I think they feel like that. Oh, this is like disqualifying to go if I don't have a real shot to win the challenge. Like, I don't want to blow my chances to come back to Survivor by doing the challenge.
Yeah, fair.
And I just think that that's part of it where these people like that they get to be on Survivor or like, it's my dream to be on Survivor. I love Survivor so much that they don't want to do anything that's going to potentially jeopardize their chances to return to Survivor.
Who are those people you think that like CBS would be interested in on the challenge who are like holding out? Maybe that's too broad a question.
Yeah. Like I wonder like see I don't know honestly I don't know all the spoilers for who's on the new one, so I don't
me neither. Honestly, I don't look at them because I don't like to get spoiled, but yeah, fair enough.
But I could say, and again, but I feel like somebody like a Jonathan, like I feel like is somebody who like loves Survivor so much, but would probably be like do really well on the challenge and could potentially say no to the challenge because they want to go back on Survivor so bad.
Yeah, Jonathan could have the next 20 years of his life at least on the Challenge Proper. Like, I have no doubt that they would move him immediately to the Challenge Proper.
Yeah. Okay. Ali, then Josh Creek wants to know, are there any parallels between anyone on 44 and characters on New Girl? Also, who won the episode?
That's great. Yeah, who won the episode tonight? I mean, that's sort of like the fishy, right? Like, I don't know, like who, or we always have a debate. It's like, is it the best person who had like the most laughs, the most memorable? Did Danny win because the fart, he did something memorable? Or is it the person who made the best game move and comes out with the best result afterwards? Yeah. I'm going to give it to Jam Jam because Jam is always making me laugh. And I think he comes out in the exact spot he wants to be. I doubt that spot's as good as he thinks it is, that he'll have as much flexibility, but he comes away with the outcome he wanted.
To me, I would say, and it's not my award, I would say Danny won the episode. Did Danny win the war? I don't think so. But did he win this episode? I think so. He ultimately had an all-time moment in the fart, and he played his idol successfully. And, he got the outcome that he wanted in this episode. So I feel like that, what else? On a night when nobody else ran away with it, I feel like I would give it to Danny.
Yeah, it's definitely, he's a good contender for it. But much like with Winston, like sometimes it's not my humor, fart humor, really not my humor.
Mhm.
So despite how great I've done with it tonight,
Yes, you were
so
a
I
trooper.
can't be my winner. But no, I think if I were gonna equate anyone to anyone on New Girl, maybe Jamie is like the Jess, always like smiley and happy to be there, and she's at a 10, and she's kind of rubbing people sometimes the wrong way, like Heidi being like, "Oh, am I not wearing it well?" So she's got Jess upside, but also a little Jess downside.
Yeah. Is there a Schmidt on this season?
I wish.
We don't cast a Schmidt on Survivor in the new era.
I would love them to find a Schmidt. Where is a Schmidt even exist?
I don't know. What about like a Bradley? Do you remember who Bradley is?
I'm trying to think. Isn't he like, who's the like Ken doll looking guy? Is that Bradley?
No, he doesn't. I don't think he looks like a Ken doll. He's just Ken. I have to go back.
Oh my God. Wait, Bradley from what season? Oh, Bradley, the airport guy?
Airport guy.
Bradley on Kellen's season?
Yes. Well, why do you call him an airport guy?
I don't know.
Yeah. Did he work at an airport? I thought he was like a law student or something.
Yeah, no, I thought he was like a lawyer for like in something with the.
I wonder who looks like a Ken doll. Chris Noble?
I was thinking of the guy. I feel like his name Brendan.
Oh yeah. Also from Ghost Island. Yeah,
I'm here. I
it.
watched the show. I didn't even review that season, and I'm here with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The airport guy.
All right, Ali. Anything else from 44?
I should let you go. This is always. It's so funny. Like everybody knows this. I get so anxious. Like the first time I've ever talked to you before, I like spin out. I freak out. I'm like so. Whatever. And then it's always the most fun. I always feel like I can't believe you let me talk to you. And no, this has been fun. And now I can breathe easy and enjoy the rest of the season.
I'm sorry that if you were stressing about this, but I've been looking forward to it.
I have been too. It is like I would clear my schedule and prepare any number of hours to be here and talk to you about this. Yeah. Fart jokes and all. It is always the highlight of any season. So thank you.
Well, yeah, this was a treat because it was only a couple of weeks ago I got to talk to you about the Murder Mystery 2 on Netflix.
The classic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I was waiting for those questions. Like, what's the biggest mystery of this?
What's the biggest mystery? Yeah. What were their names? I forget.
Amy and Jared or something.
Yes.
Something like Jill and Aaron.
I don't know. I feel like are they like the Schmidts or something like that?
Maybe like the Mr. and Mrs. Smith revenge. Like this is like, is that anyway? We don't need to get it. That's more of a mess magnets topic I'm bringing up.
Yeah.
That's when Brad and Angelina, fell in love.
I remember.
Of Jen.
I remember. And then during the Super Bowl, Tubi tried to make me think that I was going to start watching that. That was what they tried to change my channel to.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, check that out with Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but Netflix.
That was fun. Yeah, Chappelle was not with us this week, but I talked about the Power Rangers reunion movie that was on Netflix with Jason Reed and my friend Ryan Popola this weekend on Nothing But Netflix. Ali, have you heard of a show called Jury Duty?
I have heard of it. I haven't watched it, but oh my God. But Brian Cohen is a big fan, so I've seen him tweeting about it.
I saw him tweet about it also. Yeah, I covered the first 4 episodes with Jenny Autumn. That podcast is going to go up tomorrow night. So we checked it out on Hit or Quit, the show where we decide if a reality show is a hit or if we should quit. And I think it was a fun one to check out.
Can we get a spoiler? Is it a?
That's a hit. Okay. But the problem is that that the episodes it's like it's not a weekly release. So we did the first half And then we're planning on doing the second half, but that's going to come out on Tuesday night.
What's it on again?
It's a little known service called Freevee.
Oh, I thought you were gonna make a joke and be like a little known service called CBS or like
No, it's Amazon Prime, but you have to watch commercials. It's weird.
I'll check out the podcast. I'm
Yeah.
sure that'll be sufficient.
Yeah, check out the show. Yeah, that it would be great to get like your legal mind to be able to tell us is any of this plausible?
I'm not in the courtroom ever. That's
Mhm.
maybe Rourke. Rourke could come on again and talk about that. Should we plug that? That was a great podcast.
Right? Yeah, that was a great podcast. Yeah, of course. Rourke from Survivor HHH joined us on RHAP over the weekend to help punch up the dating profiles of a couple of listeners on Rob and Akiva Are Unhinged. Video is available as well, so you could see. I didn't know this about Rourke, that she was a expert at fixing up these dating profiles.
Yeah, Rourke is a very savvy dater and very has like a very mature relationship style and communication style, and it's very fun to be her friend because she'll read you to filth. Like she'll be like, do you want to be doing that? So she was great. I was cracking up. I had to text you guys from Trader Joe's and be like, this is the greatest podcast. So definitely, if you're with me against RHAP, you should join me with RHAP at least this week.
Yes, something for everybody there. There's some practical advice, some laughs were shared. Very fun episode. Ali, what are you up to these days when you're not working and podcasting?
Yeah, so you can check out the challenge RHAP Up.
No, I want to know about you. I don't want plugs.
Oh, that's personal.
Oh, okay.
No, what am I up to? Like,
yeah,
I got a Switch that's been ruining my life. So when I said
a Nintendo
Switch,
Mario,
yeah, for my birthday. So
I did notice that.
Yeah.
Who did you say? Oh, you said it, Corinne's fake Twitter said it to me.
And yeah, so that's been taking up too much of my time. So I'm gonna wean off that. And otherwise I'm talking about the challenge.
Yeah.
So I said.com/challenge feed.
Mm-hmm.
We are covering the challenge, war, what is it good for, with some Survivor favorites who are really mixing things up. Dan, Sarah, love them or hate them, they are mixing it up in the challenge house, and the old favorites don't like it. So that's really been interesting. It's been a good season, and then we'll be looking forward to the challenge All-Stars 4 coming in May. No rest for the weary.
Yeah.
We keep churning it out over there. You can follow me at Lash Tweets, no blue check needed. And new girl, old guy, when we feel like it,
yeah,
tickle the earbuds. We're going to be talking about Accepted. I can't even begin to explain why we'll be talking about the movie Accepted probably in 2 weeks, but that's old lore. So check that out, anchor.fm/new girl old guy. I've got to get the new link. It's now on Spotify, whatever. You know it. If you're listening to it, you're already listening to it. New girl old guy.
Are you watching anything else that's fun?
I've been in my serious TV era, like auditioning to just be a listener of post-show recaps. I was obsessed with Shrinking. I watched all of Beef. I have that in my queue. I know you talked about that with Sasha.
That was
the
fun one, yeah.
That's now that I can sort of like detox from the Survivor a little bit. And when I say have to, it was like a joy to really like dig in here. But I'm going to listen to that. So I've been watching.
You have to support your fellow Allies.
I love Ali Wong.
Yeah,
love her.
Yeah, I had only seen her stand up, but now that have you seen what You'll Always Be My Maybe? That I was like, I added that to my Netflix queue. I said, I gotta watch. I thought she was such a good actress. I didn't know. Like usually when you like somebody's a stand up comedian, like I kind of have like a low bar, like the Jerry Seinfeld bar
Dragon.
of like, yeah. I didn't expect, like I thought she was amazing.
Yeah, she's phenomenal, and you can really hear her voice throughout Beef and Always Be My Maybe. Like she has just such a strong point of view. Love her. Reality plug. I'm watching Next Level Chef.
Oh,
love it.
Yes,
love Next Level Chef. Really digestible, very fun. No pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
Fart sound.
What's the premise of Next Level Chef?
Okay, here's the bite. You guys should hit it or quit it. See, check
Okay.
it out. It's season 2. It's on Hulu. But it airs on, I don't know, I recorded and I watch it on Hulu, whatever.
I think it just
So
started. How are they on season 2? It's next level.
It's 3 levels. There's 3 professional celebrity chefs. And
Is it
they're
like a
like
human
coaches.
centipede situation that like the garbage from the top floors go down into the bottom floor?
No. So basically the best ingredients, all of the ingredients are on this elevator, and all of the best ingredients start at the top floor, and you have the best equipment. You have 30 seconds to grab, and then they drop and they lower, and then the basement has the shit equipment and the shit ingredients, and then they're all judged on the same level. It's like it's fun.
Yeah. Why? How come you people get on the first level?
So in the beginning, it's arbitrary, but how the teams finish, because like the team who goes into elimination, they'll lose a member and they'll be on the bottom as punishment. The team that came in the top will be at the top. Then it goes to an individual game. There's a firefighter on named Vinny, who I loved. It's a mix of home chefs, social media chefs, and professional chefs. Hit it or quit it. Bring like Kelly Strong on or something, and like or Emily Fox, and take a look.
All right, sounds good. Next level chef. All right. Ali, thank you so much for joining us for a very fun podcast, very fun way to end the week. I like the feedback show on Monday. It's like, this is the last word. That's it.
Well, I'm sorry for you that this was the last word.
No, don't be sorry for you. No, this was a great wrap up to the week. And so check out everything else in the Survivor podcast feed. Rob is website.com/Survivor feed. And check out my burning question to see how a person should play an idol for their alliance. Did Danny do all of the things that somebody should do? Was this the right spot to do that? You can hear my thoughts in about a 20-minute video. I'm no Zach Wertenberger, okay? But I did my best. It's up on Rob is a Podcast YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.